You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, where you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Good morning, Debbie. Tell us what's going on over there.
Good morning, Ron. How's everybody this morning? We're here on August the 16th, 2014. Boy, this year's passing by quickly, and this summer has been a pleasant summer, but going fast. I just want to mention our good friend, big old Bobby Orr, is setting up at the Tractor Supply selling fruits and vegetables today.
He'd be the short guy.
He'd be the short guy. And now that's going to be a parking lot full of fun when you have JR's girl and Big Bobby Orr in one parking lot.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And there's always a farmer's market out by the cannery on Peerless Road. Go out and visit those folks too. And Ron, I hear that we're going to have some dirt track racing going on in September in our hometown.
September 19th will be the first race back at Cleveland Speedway. That is the
hip,
targeted
hooray.
day. I think the Friday before they'll actually have a fun day or practice days for the track.
That's a good time to take your kids to see if they can endure the sounds and the little bit of dust. But hats off to the folks down there. They're
all new bleachers,
handicapped accessible.
So
if Papa's in a wheelchair now, Papa can go to the races. Yeah. And congratulations to them. And I hope that everybody out there listening will be sure and support them. Also, Convertibles are playing tonight at B&B Marina usually at 8:30 p.m.
And you don't take your children with you to that one. No, just don't do it. Also, it's interesting, two things that happened in history yesterday. Yesterday, 45 years ago, was the first day of Woodstock. Can you believe it's 45 years ago, guys? 45 years ago, Woodstock.
They're not talking too much so far, Ron.
Well, we're going to get them going in a minute. And I know Terry can talk.
We need to send our condolences.
And I know Bob Refner can yell because he was my football coach at one time. And also,
we need to send our condolences out this morning to River Fox's wife, Randy Fox. Bless her heart. She's been married to that man for 42 years.
We need to play a death march or something there for that. And also yesterday, 75 years ago, I think it was, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed a bill called the Social Security Act.
Yeah.
So Social Security started 75 years ago.
Well, yesterday was my mother-in-law. She lives with us. She was 93 years old.
Wow.
And what is her name?
Her Margaret Mathis. She's actually from down in Dalton, but she stays with us a good bit of the time. So she kind of had a birthday party earlier in the week, and then they had one for her last night, and we're going to take her out to eat tonight. So I tell you what, I don't get three parties like that.
And I know a great.
I don't even want one anymore. It's the candles. It's a fire problem now.
We had one of those this week at our house where we had three people with birthdays, and we piled the cake full of candles, and it was almost a fire. I would like to say happy 53rd birthday to the Village Bake Shop. And that's a special celebration. If you go by there today, and today's the last day that they're doing it, tell them happy birthday. You get a free donut of your choice.
Well, I'll be back in a minute.
They all three ran out the door and left me sitting here by myself.
And let's see, there's something else going on. Oh,
the museum. The
museum, yeah. The last day of the dirt track exhibit is today. So if you've not seen it, it's they got a real race car in the museum. That's a story in itself, how they got it in there. They took it apart and rolled it and squeezed it and finally
Took
got
6
it.
doors off the hinges.
But they actually got a race car in there that one actually raced here.
And it's an old car. It's
Yes.
not like
It's a 32 Ford, I believe.
Yes.
32, 34.
Mr. Roberts' car.
Yeah, and so,
Bob Roberts, I believe.
So it's been a great exhibit, and they've had great visitors down there. So tell us what we're going to talk about today, Deb, since we
we're
talked about everything
talking
else.
about Hardwick clothes and the oldest industry of its type. I know in this town, I'd say in the state of Tennessee, 134 years, that's hard to beat. What do you think, Bob?
It's been a good, 134 years. I was there through the first 100 and then part of the next one, and I had the opportunity to work with them in getting the governor over here, and we wrote a book and so forth, and did a film about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an exciting time for everybody. But it seems like that 100th, with now up to 134, it doesn't seem like it's been very long ago that we actually did that. That's the old time flies. As you get older, it keeps
Bob, I
getting
watched
faster and faster.
I watched that video the other day and really enjoyed it. And were the actors in it, were any of those local folks? Do you remember?
Just most of the people that we used in there were local.
I kept trying to think of what someone would have looked like 34 years ago and thinking, I wonder if that's so-and-so. And it was good. It was real good. And Ron and I have been working on a little something that Hardwick's is going to add, we think, to their website. And it's going to be about a 6 or 7 minute quick history with a lot of pictures. I think everyone will enjoy seeing that because it is such an interesting history.
Let me tell you a little bit about while we're talking about the history. Going back to the 100th anniversary, this is kind of something that not really information that got out as such because it was a mistake that was made, kind of a major mistake.
Oh, no.
And as it turned out, it really was a very productive mistake. The leaders of the company back then were making a book, and I've got one of the copies in my hand, and the original contract called for, I think it was 50 copies, a hardback. Terry's got a hardback over here he brought from the lobby at Hardwick Clothes, and then they made about 100 of the what you call the paperback copies, and that's all that were supposed to be made. Unfortunately, whoever signed the contract to the printer, and I don't know who it was, so I can't blame it on anybody, but they put an extra 0 in there. So instead of when the delivery came, they kept bringing these boxes in, and I was trying to look at the ticket, and there were 1,000 copies instead of 100, And needless to say, I went up to Mr. Foster, who was the number 2 man in charge at that time, and he kind of used a 4-letter expletive and said,
Good.
Well, who signed that, And he said, what are we going to do with all these books, Well, as it turned out, when we had our 100th anniversary open house, what we were able to do, because we had so many, is first of all, we gave one to every employee to make sure every employee had one. And then when we had the big open house, everybody that came as a visitor to the open house, we gave them a copy. And then after that, we kept copies for special things. Of course, we put a hardback in the schools and so forth. But then I put a bunch of them up in the attic part. And as far as I know, when I left, there's still maybe 50, 60, 70 copies up overhead. Mm-hmm. As I said, I haven't really been back there up in that part in about 7 years. So I don't know if they're up there or not. But that was a mistake that was made. That was a good mistake because it turned out it really put the message out about the 100th anniversary.
Now, how long did you work there, Bob?
I worked there 35 years. I went there in 1972, and then I worked through to, I think it was 207.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Amazing.
I first knew you as a teacher and my football coach at Oak Grove Elementary.
Right. After I did my education, the first part of it anyway, I taught at Oak Grove in Charleston, helped coach football,
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Bob Beatty, most people know him as a coach at Charleston for many years. He and I were really good friends, and it turned out about 10 years later, he became my brother-in-law. I had no idea he'd be start dating my sister, but he was a good guy. He didn't have much to say, But when he said something, you needed to listen to
Now,
him.
and I have to blame, the reason I never had a great football career because I learned all my football from Bob Refner and Bob Beatty.
He
and,
would just tell you
and
there
of
was no talent there
and
to
then,
develop.
And then I used to say Sonny Hicks was my baseball coach, and that's why I never made good. And of course, they all pointed out we can only do what limited talent we had to work with here. So
Well, Terry and I run Sidekick. Actually, when I was at the Banner, after I taught school, I went to the Banner for about 6-7 years, and Terry became my assistant over there in the sports department at the Banner. And then I went to Hardwick Clothes, and sure enough, who trailed behind? Here come Terry to work at Hardwick. So we've been together a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm still trailing him.
yeah, Terry, you've been there how long now?
This is year number 26.
26. Okay,
And,
you're still there though, right?
I'm still there as of today.
and that's a good thing.
Yes.
What do you do over there, Terry?
I'm the credit manager. I'm the person that they don't want to talk to. If stores get behind paying, then we have to convince them we need our money, and also set up credit limits for new accounts. That's basically it. I also do a lot of maintenance on accounts. So,
Well, something I always want to know. Name some of the people that you sold clothes to. I mean, are the people that you made clothes for that didn't have your brand name in it?
What's so funny, someone's online here that said their uncle ordered a suit from Sears several years ago, and it had a small tag that said Hardwick Woolen Mills on the inside. Of course, if it said Hardwick Woolen Mills, we know that was before the 1950s.
a long time ago.
But I think that's kind of funny, don't you, that he probably ordered it and lived down the street from the woolen mills. I want to ask them a question, and then I'll let Terry get back because I'll forget my question. And I know you guys weren't around at this time, but I've been trying to find, I know that they made clothing during World War II for the Army. How would I know that I'm looking at a Hardwick suit, or would I know?
If it's not in the book,
It's not in the
the history of Hardwick Clothes, Centennial 1880 to 1980 that Bob was involved with, I'm clueless
Bob, do you
on
have a
World War
have a
II.
clue about? I mean, would it have a tag in it, or would you think that
I
they
would-
would be a greater?
I wouldn't think so, because
Okay.
I guess, Terry, are we still making the umpires' pants and so forth?
We still make umpire pants for Major League Baseball.
See, and that's the thing about it.
Wow.
It doesn't have a Hardwick indicator on it,
Yeah.
Now, I knew when I left they had the sizes of most of the umpires and things, and a lot of times they put some of their names and so forth in them, send them to these guys. They had Major League Baseball's got a lot of money. Believe you me, they got a lot of money. And back when we first started, I don't know how we're doing it now, but, we could send out 8 pairs to a particular umpire where he was going to be next week or the week after, like that. But there's a company, and Terry, you would know.
The name of the company is Honig's up in Michigan,
That's right.
Honig'', and they have a lot of contact in the sporting world with Major League Baseball, different basketball associations. We do a ton of stuff with them. They're one of our top 10 customers. And like Bob said, you probably don't see our tag in the clothes, but Hardwick is the one that makes it, ships it out. Once a year, a couple of people from Hardwick will go out to Arizona and spend a week out there taking measurements of Major League umpires. This usually occurs like February. And getting the sizes, and they have some interesting stories to tell when they come back. Some Major League Baseball umpires think a lot of themselves, and then some are your ordinary guys. But there's a lot of interesting stories about the work we do for our customer Honig's that ends up on Major League umpires.
Yeah.
One thing I used to do when I'd give people tours out there is I would go back by where we had the area in our shipping that we stored all the different sizes of the umpire pants, and I might note that they just don't go to the pro. I mean, colleges order from through that Honig, and high school, and they just about, I would guarantee, almost 95% of any umpires you see on TV or somewhere else, those pants came from Hardwick Clothes.
Well, that's a
Love it.
good
They've got the
story.
big pockets and so forth in them, but the one key thing that I always used to amuse, especially the school kids when they'd come on a tour of Hardwick Clothes, was I'd get this little thing out and I'd show it to them. And it was like a little sack or a little bag, and they'd look at it, and I'd say, do you feel like this is important? Do you know what this is? And they said, just looks like a bag to us. I said, well, we got some blue ones and we've got some gray ones. Well, what they are is that's the bag you see the umpires put on their belt where they keep the extra balls to be thrown back in the game. So they make those out there too.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
Who's some of the other big clients or people that you've done over the years? I know that, the Masters used to use your jackets at one time, didn't they?
Yes, and that's in the book too.
So you know that's a fact then. If
Oh
it's
yeah,
in the book.
yeah.
Okay.
Did the Masters jackets, the green jackets? That was a big deal. I think it was in the 50s. One of my favorite things that Hardwick used to do, but we don't do anymore. We used to advertise in Playboy.
Yep.
Back in the 50s, and
I
don't know why that contract expired.
You check the ads every month, right?
Well, they said that though, but in the book, and if the book says it, it's true. If the ad came out, it was good for 4,000 blazer
Yes,
sales
right.
that week. I mean, it would just be almost automatic.
Yeah,
Let me go back to the Army stuff. Okay,
Quit
you guys
jumping subjects.
made Army blankets, and I know you guys didn't, but Hardwick's closed, and Hardwick Woolen Mills made the woolen blankets for the Army during World War I, World War II, and Vietnam. I think that they had a paper tag on them, did they? Probably.
Probably did. They'd have to because,
Yeah.
in fact, that was a requirement at that time. But surprisingly enough, most people do not realize how much military stuff actually came out of Hardwick into the active part of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And we still are in the military business. In fact, and of course, we're not selling directly to the services like the Army or people like that, but we're selling to companies that have contracts with the military. And so the military is still a big deal.
What kind of thing are you making, Terry?
Well, for the Libyan Army, we have about 350,000 units. And that's my extent of the
I didn't
knowledge.
expect you to say that.
I can't tell you what the color is or anything, so because I'm not in the shipping, packing them up and shipping them out. But there's still a lot of military contracts that Hardwick does.
What's your biggest contract now?
Salvation Army. We do jackets for Salvation Army nationwide. Hope one day
Their uniforms.
one day hope to do Salvation Army worldwide, but right now that's about the biggest thing going. And also Orvis, the outdoor clothing company and fishing accessories and all of that. They're also one of the very top customers that we have.
What are you making for them?
Different jackets. Now, I have to plead not knowing a lot about the plant and what they make. And here's
I plead
why.
a
just
lot.
know who
I plead a
owns-
lot too.
And here's why.
You just know who
My
owes the
side
money.
is the money. The only thing that that I'm involved with is getting the dollar in the door. And as far as telling you the styles, the sizes, what's available, I defer to Bob because he was much more involved with the plant than I've ever been.
But so, is there other companies that you just made their jackets for them, and then they sold them as theirs?
Oh yeah, we put the label in on whatever the company wants, as long as there's not a trademark against it, where you couldn't put somebody else's label in there that's been trademarked.
So
but we have labels out there, and Bob can tell you there's thousands of over the years of different labels we have there. And if Joe's Men's Shop in Bangor, Maine wants his label in there, he sends it to us, we sew it in.
If they got money, you'll put anything in there, right?
While you're on the subject of labels, let me share something that's quite humorous. And of course, this is what you say, water over the dam now, so you really wouldn't matter that much. But D.S. Stewart, of course, was president a lot of the time that I was there, and D.S. hated to drive. He just did not care to drive, so he would say, how busy are you today? And I'd say, well, we're not too awful busy. He said, get your car. I said, we're going for a ride. We get in the car, and he'd say, take me to Chattanooga. And we'd go down to Ira Trivers, which was a big men's store there. Mm-hmm. And D.S. would pick him up a couple nice suits, very expensive suits. And we'd come back to Hardwick Clothes, and he'd say, now, you get those sent back here to shipping, and you make sure they put a Hardwick label in.
Yeah, that would be the thing to do. And I did not realize yesterday until I went to the library and was looking around is that in the 1920s, there was part of the woolen mills was in Chattanooga from like 1908 to 1920 something.
In looking at the book yesterday, I did not realize that at one time we had a location in Chattanooga because there was not enough workforce in Cleveland for the demand that the company had at that point.
What a nice problem to have.
A very good problem to have.
And there were, Chicago had something. What was that?
Sales office.
The sales office.
And New York,
New York.
Sales office.
I guess that when you lived here and you saw it all your life, you took a lot for granted, because I really didn't know the story until I started doing this research for this little documentary we're doing.
There's a great ad in the banner saying that it was the world's largest clothier at one time in like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And then they invented the material that what they usually used to call jeans. I didn't know that.
They invented a material.
Yeah.
I don't know if
They
it's
made
exactly
jeans,
blue jeans.
fancy jeans, prison uniforms, coats, and drawers.
That's what
I didn't know they were made drawers, but But now, what's the weirdest thing you made while you're been there?
What's what?
What was the weirdest thing you ever made while you were
strange.
there?
Weirdest thing?
Weird order colors.
Oh, there's.
I've got a picture of you in a coat that has like 18 different colors on it or something.
Oh, yeah.
Bob.
I've got one of those in my closet.
Yeah.
I kept one.
You wear that to church on Sunday, right?
And I took one to Pigeon Forge. There was a show at Pigeon Forge at one time. They all got too old and they've closed that particular show down. But the comedian up there would always wear something wild. So I took one up one time, and we were kind of getting rid of some of them. I took it up, and here he came out on stage with that thing, and it had, like I said, about 18, 19 different colors on
every
the blazer.
lapel's a different color, every pocket, every sleeve. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, the blazer included every color that we offered in on that coat somewhere. And it was a promotion item. Each of the salesmen got one in their size, and they could wear it into the stores when they were making their sales calls,
You'd definitely be noticed.
Yeah, people noticed them, don't worry. And I wore mine out a few times, just out of meekness. I think I wore it to church one time just to be mean, and somewhere else. And I don't think my wife sat. I can't remember if she sat with me that day or not.
Well, it's normal. She didn't usually sit with you anyway, did she?
Do what?
She didn't sit with you anyway.
Well, no, she keep our distance. No, we've been married 52 years. It's been a good time together.
Deb and I have been happily married for 27 years. We've been married 35, but we've been happily married for 27.
You know why he jumped in and told that real fast? Because I was getting ready to
use it. Yeah, she used it on me.
Wait a minute, Terry. Did you think of something strange that you'd seen somebody order?
Something similar to what Bob described. In fact, it was out there when we had 134th anniversary. I saw it in the lobby. They had a couple of displays there on mannequins where there was all kind of colors on the coat. Now they've kind of, after the birthday celebration, 134 years a couple of weeks ago, they've got more normal models there in the office. But there were a couple of coats like he described.
Mm-hmm. We have Ron's grandpa's coat probably from the early 1950s. That's a, knee-length coat, big heavy wool coat that came from
Robert
Hall's in Chattanooga, and I would suspect it's a Hardwick, but I've had it turned inside out, and it don't say anything anywhere on it.
Now, we had previously, a couple of years ago, a big, heavy coat, a very long coat. You probably remember it, Bob, that was in the lobby there. It was like a 1934 model. Looked like it weighed about 10 pounds.
It's all wool.
I can't imagine if you're outside and got wet in that thing, how heavy it's going to be.
And we sit here and talk about 134 years, but actually this story started, even before Bradley County became Bradley County. C.L. Hardwick that started the Cleveland Woolen Mills originally. I mean, he was born in the Indian Nation.
Yeah.
1827. His grandfather, one of them was the Indian agent, Mr. Montgomery. His grandfather, Hardwick, was a commissioner for the removal. So they were up in what we now call Charleston, and that's where he was born. And he just decided to stay here in his hometown. And not only did he start the woolen mills, he had the little trolley car that ran through Cleveland. He started some of the banks. He started, of course, Hardwick Stove. That was under that title until 1981. But when you start talking about a family that's made a difference in Cleveland, that put people to work in Cleveland, and not only did he put other people to work, he put his own children to work. He thought even his daughters should have an education and a career, and he made sure that they had them. And matter of fact, Hardwick Close, in that 134 years, had never been under the wings of anyone other than a family member.
True.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's amazing.
And you got to remember when you go back in the history of Hardwick Close during the hard times, we're talking about the Depression. And I got a lot of stories. When I was there were two ladies that worked there. Let me say they're both deceased and gone, but one was Georgia Varner, and Georgia worked there for 55 years. Well, that's unheard of today to work for a company for 55 years.
55 years.
And then there was another lady there, and she worked 51 years. And the two of them shared a lot of information, and I'll get into that in a second.
All right. Hey, go ahead, call. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron and Debbie.
Hey, Miss Ella, how are you?
Hey, Miss Ella.
I'm fine, except I'm busy.
You're dizzy. You get drunk last night?
No, I didn't go out up here. There ain't nowhere to go.
Oh. So you're just drunk at home?
Yeah, and I hate that. But, my son tries to boss me, and I hate that. I don't like a boss.
Well, now, has anybody been following you around out there?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
I haven't seen Mark lately, but the guys are still following me.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you know what Pro Daddy said?
I have no idea.
He said, I was the oldest woman having the youngest, the guy that followed the cougar.
Following the cougar.
Well, you better go sit down if you're dizzy.
Well, I still haven't been able to get my pills. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a doctor to get my pills.
Well, check with Mark there. He may have some.
He probably has. Anyway, he's probably around hiding.
All
All right, Miss Ella. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Okay, bye.
She's
Bye.
in Indiana
No,
now. She's
Iowa.
left us. Oh, Iowa. One of those foreign places.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying. Let me pick back up when I got that thought. Georgia Varner, as I said, had been there for 55 years, and then Hassel Elkins. She was a big leader out at Washington Avenue Baptist Church for many years. Of course, she's deceased and gone. She was there 51 years. So those two ladies really fed me a lot of information through the years as to what was going on at Hardwick Close.
Those are such valuable things, and we talk about how important it is to record those older people in the community. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. Denley.
Hey, Bullet, how are you, sir?
Has that Hardwick Close always been in the same location all the years, or was they over next to the old Bradley High School at a time?
Where was all the locations, Deb?
Well, where the smokestack is on the old building.
Oh, okay.
That was the original location from 1880. That's not the original building. And they stayed there from 1880 to about the mid-70s, and then they've moved over off of 20th Street on Old Tasso Road.
It burned about 2 or 3 times over in that location.
Well, as a lot of businesses did at that time, is that there was no fire protection. So when it caught on fire, it was bucket brigades and all that. And we'll talk about the whistle here in a few minutes that the employees bought.
I believe my sister worked there for a while. She worked about 10 years, I believe.
Yeah.
And anyway, Ron, did you hear the jamboree last night?
I was there. Yes.
Oh, you was there.
Yes.
Well, how did my team look real fast?
Average.
Average.
Well, and all the 2 local teams I saw looked average yesterday, and of course it's a
Average,
jamboree.
but working hard.
Yeah, it's a jamboree. Bradley won theirs 14-0, and Cleveland lost 7-3.
Yeah. Well, anyway, like you say, it's just a jamboree, so we just have to hope for the best. But I really don't think they're going to make it next week. But after that, I don't know what's going to hope.
Well, they play Thursday night at Findlay next week, and it will be it'll be a good game. I think Cleveland's going to be good. As Terry's sitting here with me today, he's they've got a lot of injuries, so give them 2 or 3 weeks, and that program may turn around and be a little different. But they struggled getting the ball. Getting the plays off last night, I think, was a big thing, and had some pretty good plays. But Like I say, we got 3 or 4 starters out in high school. That's tough. So Walker Valley plays tonight, and we'll wish them well. I think they play.
Yeah.
I forgot who they played. East Ridge.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you and Dan.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Bullet. So go ahead there. Oh, who else has worked there? I mean, I was at the Jamboree last night, football game. People come by who had read what we were doing today, and they said, my grandfather worked there, my grandmother worked there, my daddy worked there, my sister worked there, my mother-in-law worked there. I mean, it just we got the phones ringing.
Hardwick has put bacon and eggs on the plates in Bradley County for 134 years.
That's good. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yes, Ron. This is Yvonne Anderson. I just want to pay tribute to Bob Refner. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, he gave my sister, Kim Henderson, a job. Bob, I know you remember me. I was a Henderson, then an Anderson. And Lamar and I have been married 42 years. Congratulations.
I'm sorry, Yvonne. I'm so sorry.
52. Yeah,
Boy, he's a patient man, isn't he, Yvonne?
We rented one of his cousins. She said, "Oh, he hadn't drove you crazy yet." I said, "Honey, he's been trying for 40+ years, and I'll tell you, he hasn't made it yet." But the community needs to know what a gentleman and what a good person Robert Refner is. Not only did he reach out, behind the scenes, in giving my sister a job, she ended up marrying your person that worked in the back, Farron Fowler. Everyone pretty much knows his father, that passed away, Malin Fowler.
Oh, okay.
Then my other sister, Cindy, ended up marrying Mark Goodson that worked out there in shipping. She now has worked for TBI, and Mark works for First Baptist.
So you could get a job and a husband at Hardwick's.
I'm telling you, but if you got the husband, honey, one of you had to quit, or they moved you to a different department.
Yeah.
But going back to this military stuff and these labels and things, not only did Bob Refner help people, like if you needed a suit and they were having the sale, but it only applied to the employees of the plant, he would kind of say, well, if you really need a suit for somebody, I can kind of pretend like you're in a
I can help you out a little bit.
And so I can truthfully say that my grandson, who's now a Church of God minister, Caleb Nathan Taylor, he has some Hardwick clothes. And let me go back to my notes here, Bob. I wanted to
Yvonne's got notes.
That, Kim Henderson, working for Hardwick, got a husband, Farron Fowler. My sister, Cynthia Henderson Choplin, got a husband, Mark Goodson. And the organizations, the choirs, the, like I said, ministers, don't know of him giving somebody or letting you buy a suit for somebody to be buried. Just don't know that about him. But what people also need to know is that Bob Refner is a wonderful, I'm sure everybody knows it, singer. And Bob, I still have the video, not the DVD or CD, but the video, VCR. I'm old school, of you and Mark Grissom when y'all sang the quartet got together back in the 90s. Remember that at North Cleveland?
I do.
Well, I'm telling you, people just thought, you don't know Bob Refner. Well, Bob Refner, you do know me, don't you?
Of course, very much so.
I know that's right. Well, to bring you up to date on Farron Fowler, he's always been in the textile industry, and he's worked for military companies that do the bulletproof vest and whatnot. And Terry, you might know of this company, Weckworth, out of Derby, Kansas.
A little bit.
That's where he's employed now. And Kim and Farron still live in Hendersonville, North Carolina. But I just want to say, Bob, you have always been a true friend, a true gentleman, a man that's done so much for this community that people does not know how he reached out. And Ron and Debbie, I applaud you for the research and the information about this, because to me, history behind, a company is important. Lamar is still with, it's not Quinn Electric anymore, it's Kendall Electric off of APD 40. And after, being with the company 40 years, I kind of went through, he's through, the change of life, but this change in moving location from behind KFC on Key Street, I'm just glad that Hardwick's still on Tasso Road. And, like you said, Debbie, there's been different locations, and this information y'all been given about the Depression in the early years it's just a great program. And I was told I couldn't get your station in my house. But guess what?
Well, sometimes when it's not cloudy and the wind's blowing the right way and you happen to have your...
Well, I just touched this radio, and this is the radio I play over for a pastor when he comes on in the morning, live.
I've got a stereo that if you threw it at somebody, it would really hurt them. It's so old and heavy, and it'll pick it up every time.
Well, this one's sort of kind of new, and I don't like change, but it's saw me through a lot of hard times and lonely nights. And so how long does this program last?
2 hours. We go off the air at 12 o'clock.
Keep talking, honey. Keep talking.
I'll tell you something. Terry Evans, I do not know you. It must be because you're involved with the money.
You must have good credit.
Everything I have is paid for. I pay as I go or I don't go. I learned that lesson as a youngster growing up in Michigan from my grandfather. And it's just the way life is. Sometimes you get thrown a curve or two, and but you're always supposed to have that money saved under the mattress for a rainy day.
There you go. Well, thank you, Miss Yvonne, for calling, honey. It's good talking to you.
Great about all this information and I'm taking notes of your program too.
Okay, sounds good. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
I'd like to interject at this point that I've worked with Bob at the Banner, worked with him at Hardwick, known him for a long time. The lady was right on. Bob has done a lot of things behind the scenes and not asked for any credit or this look at me attitude. And while he was there at Hardwick, he did a lot of things for a lot of people that Bob knows about and the person that he helped knows about. And that's all that know about it. Mm-hmm. And she is right that Bob has done a lot of things for a lot of people through the years.
Well, good. And I agree. Bob's great. Like I say, I almost learned football from him. Go ahead. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Phones are hot this morning.
Hello.
Good
Hello,
morning.
go ahead.
You're live on the air.
Yes. I worked at Hardwick's when the bicentennial jackets were being made. Phyllis German was my supervisor.
And what's your name, sweetie?
Linnell.
Linnell. Well, Linnell, what did the bicentennial jackets look like?
Well, they were very pretty, I thought.
All red, white, and blue. I think there's a picture of one.
There were actually 3 of them. We did a white one, trimmed in red and blue. We did a blue one, trimmed in with red and white, and we did a red one. It just so happens I've still got them in my closet at home.
Well, I'm just wondering if there is a book for sale that would include in 1976 in it, the information on that. I'd be interested in buying one.
I don't think there's anything out there right at this moment. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next year or so we don't come up with something or somebody comes up with something.
Oh.
But, yes, I think it's about time, and especially since Bob put this together in 1980. Well, the first 100 years is done. It's just this next 34 that needs to be worked on.
On their website, and within the next 30 days, there'll be a 7-minute documentary about the Hardwicks, but it's going to go from 1890 to what's happened today.
Okay.
In 7 minutes.
It moves pretty fast, but it's good. It gives you a good background.
What would be the link?
It's what Hardwick. Do you know what Hardwick Clothes link is?
Hardwick.com.
Hardwick.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it'll be about 30 days, and that's my understanding what they're going to do with it. You know, we've been hired to do this and put it together, and so we'll be taking care of that soon.
Okay. Thank you.
People can go to the Hardwick.com website and order whatever we have in stock.
Okay, good. So you ordered factory direct?
Yes, started about 2 weeks ago.
I did not know that.
That's a good move in this day and time. Everybody expects that. What kind of women's articles did you guys make over the years? I know that at some point in time, late 60s, they started doing the women's clothing, or was it before that? Somewhere right in there.
The women's blazers go back fairly far because of the fact that when it got where companies were starting to, what we say, uniform their employees. And of course you had men and women, and they could get all the men blazers, but there was such a heavy request for the women. Say, well, we've got women. And then when it got into the bankers especially, most of the people that did the legwork, with the customers at the counters and so forth were females. And we started to get a lot of requests. So back in 50s, early 50s, I guess it probably was, if my mind serves me right in my research, Bill decided that they would probably get into some of the women's, and they started to add just the basic now. The basic colors, blue was they started out with some blue, and then they started to add the tan color like that, and then they came out with the red, and then eventually they started to spread that lady's blazer out the folder. I've got some of those at home. It was pretty broad because they had like the 14 range, which is a polyester, and then they had the 18 range, which was a blend, like that. And with all the extra colors they had, they could pretty much line the ladies' dress up with the men for banks, whatever.
Yeah, that was a big thing, and of course we know that the casual wear has sort of taken over the formal wear, which has not been a good thing for Hardwicks over the year or any clother. Go ahead, caller. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, morning, Ron and Deb. It's Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. What's up, buddy?
I worked for, it was a woolen mill back in when I worked for him. And I worked.
Boy, you must be old, Joe.
Well, I'm 66. I worked in maintenance.
Oh, okay.
And they had one of them big old boilers. And I had to call in that thing one time and clean it out. It was dark in there.
Well, light a match.
That's back when you was only making about $1.25, $2 an hour.
Yep, that's about what they paid you then. Wow, you've done a lot of things, Joe.
Huh?
I said you've done a lot of things.
Well, now, Joe, I'd say working at the movie theater was a lot easier.
Was in the dark, too.
You got to watch movies.
Well, it wasn't too easy, especially on Saturdays when you have them matinees on there. All them kids comes in there.
Yeah, that makes it rough. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Following up on what he was talking about, we used to call it the doldrums of the back part of the old plant. I was one of the few, I guess, that are still around that had the opportunity or the experience of having worked at the old plant and also having worked at the new plant. So I can relate to what he's talking about, because sometimes the guard, which had to make their rounds down there, something would come up, and if they called you at 2 o'clock in the morning and something happened, well, Mr. Refner would get out of bed and go down and make the rounds and make sure everything was checked, because we did have to punch the clock for security and for fire reasons. And it was really spooky in the back part of the old plant. You'd hear all kinds of the building, the wind blowing, and things like that. And you always wondered if there was something back there. It was kind of spooky or
that was a big place.
So you always kind of said your prayers when you walked through there to make sure the good Lord was leading your way.
Let me ask you this: in the old pictures, you can see out on the east side of the building, I guess it's a spring. Is there a spring there, or
yes.
was that? Yeah. Well, talk about the physical. What y'all know about the physical plant?
Also a creek, and I don't know the name.
Die
of the
Creek.
Okay, it comes right through there also.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what it was. The creek actually was up at by Magic Chef, and it came down and crossed onto the road and came in, and it was a pond. They would let the creek go into the pond because they needed that pond to run their old sponging machine and also water for their presses and so forth, because they would kind of filter some of that water and use it. But they did have to have water also for the sprinkler system, was hooked to it. It was kind of archaic, but it was a sprinkler system, and at times it would go off when you didn't want it to. But again, it was kind of when you have a building that was that was built in the turn of the century, then trying to put other stuff into it, and they wanted to put a sprinkling system in. They did, but it was, as I say again, I repeat, it was kind of archaic. But they had to have a water supply, so that pond that was out there, I guess the most notable thing that the kids would remember that used to live back in there was there were fish in it. Mm-hmm. And those fish would breed and multiply. So it was a good place. You go out there and throw a line in, you're going to catch a fish in about 5 minutes.
Let's go. Now, my dad lived in the house. It's right there on the corner. It's gone now. And so he's saying, well, if that building never burns, we're in trouble because they oiled the floors to keep the dust down for years. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Hey, you know who I have in here with me today?
I know the guy, the broadcast for Cleveland.
Terry Evans is here, the one and only Terry Evans.
How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing well, Brett. Are you ready for football?
Yeah.
Good.
Did you go down to the Jamboree last night?
No, I saw the games it played last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about everybody?
I have some scores I need to give y'all.
We'll go right ahead.
Boyd, Boyd McKinnon.
Yes.
The team from Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Siegel, the team from that has played the same one.
Yeah, they played Silverdale, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Silverdale.
And what's the other scores?
Boyd ended up winning 14-0.
Yep.
And Bradley ended up winning 14-0 over Howard.
Yes.
Now, Brett, is that the first time Bradley's won without you there?
Yeah, I'm going to listen to y'all on the Thursday night.
Thank you.
You do the first game against the team I'm going to tell you.
Macaulay.
Who's in Macaulay?
So what was the other scores?
Macaulay loses to the team Single Mountain 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
And Baylor beats Cleveland 7-3 last night, Ron.
That's right.
And McMinn County beats Red Bank 7-0.
And the last 30 seconds or so, last part of it, minute or so.
Yeah. Here's some games they're going to be playing tonight, Ron.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. These are the games we're going to be playing tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Notre Dame's playing Brainerd.
Mm-hmm.
Walker Valley's playing Howard. No, Walker Valley's playing Hickson, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Ray County is playing Ooltewah. Saturday is playing Franklin County. You're on?
Yep.
And the last game, Ron?
Yes.
It's East Hamilton playing Chattanooga Central.
The Purple Pounders. That used to be the big school against Bradley years and years ago. All right, Brett. Well, thanks for calling. We'll look forward to you next week.
I'll listen to Terry. Thursday night they play Macaulay.
That's right, down at Finley Stadium.
The 21st.
Yes.
Thanks, Brett.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. On that other radio station, WCLE, 104.1, The Mix.
The one that Ron Moore is on when he helps me with the Panel of Experts football program.
We've just done that a few years now, hadn't we?
About 15. That's how you got me in here today. I owe you one.
I said, well, I'm going to run the show today, Terry, and you got to answer the questions. Hey, you're listening to Whoop FM, Old Town Cleveland. We got Bob Refner and Terry Evans in here. I started calling him Terry Allen, but I don't know why. But Terry Evans here, and they're talking about the people and the times of Hardwick Clothes. And we invite you to call in if you're. We said if your parents worked there, if you worked there, your parents worked there, your grandparents worked there, your great grandparents, or even maybe your great great grandparents. And there's a lot of families that's worked. I don't know that have worked there. All 4 or 5 generations could work there. You know.
If you've been in Cleveland for, say, over 10 years, Bob, I think you've probably had a relative, a neighbor, or a friend at Hardwick, or all three.
Yes.
There was no way to escape that. You had some tie to Hardwick Clothes. You got to remember back, there was a time that there were almost 1,000 employees at Hardwick. Now, when I left, it was about 700 there. And when you think in terms of the fact that even back during the Depression, when everything was just going flat, There was no way to be able to get gas because they had the military aspect of the influence on the country. And so what was happening was Hardwick Clothes could operate, but they operated what was known as the home sewn industry.
Mm-hmm.
And what they would do is the women would have sewing machines. Of course, these were not electric back then. They were the old kind you took your foot and ran the pedal back and forth. And I've got a couple of the old heads off of some of them in my collection at home. And what would happen is they would take the pants that would be cut in the plant, and then they would deliver them to the different homes. And when they would make that delivery, then they would pick up what the ladies had already sewed, and that they would, of course, get their pay that way because, as I said, there was no money for gas to get to the plant and very little for the plant to use, for their trucks and so forth. So you had to minimize any kind of expense because of the situation that the war and everything was going on. So the home sewn industry was really a big part of the history of Hardwick Clothes.
And that's some of the reason too that there were so many little company homes. They weren't owned by the company, but the little mill homes were built around there so that people could walk to work or have the stuff there to make.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Debbie.
Good morning. What's up, buddy?
Did Ron buy you a biscuit this morning?
Yes. We had a biscuit this morning.
We met our kids over at the restaurant across the street from you.
Let's see how y'all are.
They're doing great. This is Jeff from down at the O Cafe at the Oasis. As you go into historic downtown Cleveland at the V, he has a deli inside there, and him and his wife. And if you haven't had a good biscuit, that's where I stop on the weekday mornings. I stop there every day and get me a biscuit and a Diet Coke. The Diet Coke erases all the calories.
Somebody smart has started posting pictures on Facebook of what they're serving over there, and they had onions and peppers and sausages the other day that looked absolutely delicious. You sold out too, didn't you?
A week ago, and this past Thursday we had homemade meatloaf, homemade mashed potatoes, your choice of green beans or green peas, and a dinner roll. And next Thursday we're having what they call jambalaya.
All right.
Good deal.
Is there any way to cut this show about an hour short and we head over to his place?
Yeah, it sounds good.
I mean, nothing wrong with the dead air for an hour.
Oh, that's right. Well, this is automatic. We can turn it on. He'll play music all day.
Then we'll come back over by the Village Bake Shop and get us a free donut.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, if you go over to the bake shop today, the bake.
Don't go to the bake shop.
The bake shop here at the Village and say happy 53rd anniversary, they'll give you a free donut.
That's pretty amazing, too, that they've been
Hey, Jeff?
Here.
Oh, I thought Jeff had already. Let's go get a donut.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, eat a sausage biscuit and then turn around and eat a donut.
There you go.
Hey, what a day.
I'm telling you. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, and you're doing Saturday breakfasts. You do Saturday breakfast now, too, don't you?
Yes, sir, we do. Matter of fact, that's one reason why I called you. We're opening up from 7 to 11 on Saturdays now.
Oh, okay.
Great. So right across the street from the Village Green where we are, is where the road splits, where you go up First or Emmons Street, that convenience store there is the Oasis, and go inside and take a left, and Jeff and Debbie has a deli in there called the O Cafe, and they've been selling out of everything, so you got to get there early.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.
We were talking about the Depression. One thing that saved Hardwick Woolen Mills, too, is that they made their own materials. And so I guess it was cheaper that way, and they could control it, and it was all in-house.
Yeah, when they were doing all their own material, they, of course, had the weaving process there. And then one of the things that was a big deal back then that people don't see anymore was called the sponging process. And we did break that down at the old plant, and we did move it out to the new plant, and it stayed for probably about maybe 10 years. But what it is, it's a great big roller, and what they would do is roll every piece of goods that we got in had never been sponged or pre-shrunk would be the best way of making it. And we would roll that material up on this big roller, and then they would just force the steam into that thing. It would just boil steam out of it like crazy. And then, of course, when they'd unroll it, that material would be pre-shrunk or ready for drying and sewing, because if you didn't put it through that process, if a guy bought a 44 regular, by the time he sent it to the dry cleaners and it came back, he's going to have a 42 regular.
That's what happens to my clothes, isn't it?
No, it's going to the Oasis and eating biscuits.
Yeah, that might be why I have my. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron, I just had to call back in because I just now realized who your guest was. As far as I'm concerned, he's the voice of Mr. Cleveland High School.
You got it, Terry Evans. That's right.
Yeah, and I go back a long ways with Terry. We used to talk to each other over at Ray County, and I just want to say hello to him. And he don't know my name, probably, but he knows my face. But I just wanted to say hello to him, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize him a while ago.
No problem, buddy. It's good to hear from you again.
Thanks, Robert. Bye-bye.
You can call us here at 614-5553. Bob Refner, Terry Evans talking about Hardwick Clothes. Give us a call. We're about 5 minutes away from our morning break, so you got to get in a hurry. And it's good on these shows. Go ahead there, Terry.
To throw something out that Bob was talking about a while ago about the people working out of their homes. You and Debbie, being the historians that you are, might verify this, but I understand that's kind of how Dalton got started in the carpet business, as the people working out of their homes, and they would do, like Bob was talking about, where a company truck or a company wagon even would go by the homes, deliver the raw goods. The ladies in those homes would sew that rug.
They actually started out making chenille bedspreads.
That's it, yeah, bedspreads.
And then they had the yarn machines there, and so then it kind of transferred over to carpet, and then the rest is history. But my family did that.
Well, you do that Inglewood, Conasauga, all that area. That was a concept that was used there.
Inglewood's got a little museum up there that goes along with their textile industries, because their industry is gone. But if you get a chance, you need to go downtown Inglewood and see their little museum.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, that's T-Bandy.
Hey, T-Bandy. Are you catching fish today?
And I got the fish next Saturday.
Next Saturday. What time do they need to be there?
Down at the Bradley Farmers Co-op.
Yeah. And to order fish for your pond, you can call 478-2405.
Right, yeah, or just come down there and get some.
That's good. And you got containers and everything. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, T. Bye-bye.
We cover all basics here.
I've been a customer of Mr. Bandy's before on some of those fish deals. And so it's a very good service that the co-op furnishes down there.
Well, and when we can announce it here, it gets out. He had people come from Georgia to get
I don't know if you know, Terry, but I'm related to T.
Well, I like him in spite of that.
That he is married to Deb's sister.
Okay.
Yep. Bless her heart.
Bless her heart, definitely there. And now let me ask you a question, Terry. Just think, do you still have that big stand-up I give you?
Yes.
Mr. Soprano?
Yeah, that's another reason I'm here today, because I owe you so many favors for the last 15 years. And we still have the stand-up of the Soprano and Tony, who's no longer with us.
Yes.
And so I appreciate
those are worth a few dollars now, because when they first made, if you don't know, I worked in the cable industry, and they made this big stand-up of Tony Soprano holding his cigar. It said, "Watch him on HBO." Well, it was a life-size stand-up. And there was like only two of them in the area here, and one of them was at my house. And Terry said, "Well, I sure would like to have that." And so I found him a small one of it. Then I found him the other one. So, but the story behind that, the guy James Francis, I can't get his name right. Anyway, he never approved of them doing that, and they had to stop making them. So they didn't make many of them. So that stand-up's worth quite a few dollars now.
Ron, I appreciate it. Our friendship runs deep, but you're not getting it back.
Okay. Well, I've got one at my house, too.
I'd sell it real cheap.
Matter of fact, that created a problem one time at the cable company, because the guy was standing over in the corner, and the lady come knocked on the door and was mad because the guy with a cigar never would open the door for her. And so she called and was mad at us that day. So I know we digress a little bit, but that's what we do here.
That's what we do here. But I want to ask Bob something. Bob, were you around when they cut the pollution? at some point in time, the smokestack used to just boil out smoke, and when it got real popular well, I guess you were required to do the environmental stuff, they changed something and they didn't quite smoke as much. Or am I dreaming that?
That was a little bit before my time.
1972.
Now, I did get involved in the water testing that came as the second part of the environmental protection. And I used to have to go down to the old plant, and I'd have to wait till it rained, till it really stormed, and the water would come down for the spouting. And, of course, it'd get in those little runoff troughs they had. And I'd have to fill about 4 or 5 vials of water and take those and send them in, have them checked, have them verified that our runoff was not contaminating anything around there. So that was my chemistry aspect.
And
I wasn't very sharp at it, but somebody had to do it. A lot of times, if you proved yourself worthy, you would get more worthiness. And that was one of the jobs that I just inherited to go down, and it'd be pouring down rain, out in the rain, the water, on your hands and knees with a little vial.
You were thankful to be there.
See, I've proved that at home when, my wife wants me to paint, and when you get it over everything, she says, just quit and go on. It sort of
We
works.
were discussing painting in our house today, and I said, no, you will not paint.
Well, see, I was going to start it, and I knew it would get finished. That creek there, ironically is, at one time everybody called it Dye Creek. I think it's probably Baldwin Creek or Branch, or it starts all the way over what we in Gum Hollow, that water source, which comes through the old dump, which means it's picked up all those metals. Then it come through in what the Hardwicks at one time apparently dumped a lot of water had dye in it, and then it goes over, and that's why when that floods over on Key Street and got into the George R. Stewart playground over there, and when they started adding to it, they had chemicals in George R. Stewart, and they had to clean up a lot of dirt.
Well, that's not funny, but yeah.
No, it's not funny, but you're going is that was just a different sign of the times.
Well, that was just the way people used to do things. You just kind of cranked up the industry, and whatever happened. When we come back, or while Ron's getting the buttons pushed here, I want to tell Bob something interesting that Ron and I do have is we have a cassette tape of his grandfather talking in the mid-'70s, and he was born in 1888. And he's talking about bringing the wool to the woolen mills in Cleveland, and how when they would roll it, it'd come out looking about as big as round as your thumb, and then his mom would take it home and make it into covers and things like that. And so I think that if we ever get the opportunity to do a full documentary, that will definitely be included.
One of the advertising mottos back many years ago was from sheep's back to clothing rack.
And I didn't realize until I got it on my big, huge screen at home. I have a picture of the old Hardwick woolen mills, but there was a water tower apparently on top of the building that had sheep on it.
Oh, I don't know about the sheep.
We're gonna take a short break here and play a little music. We'll be remembering people that left us this week, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
You need money overnight? Check into cash. Your time is tight. .com. Bank account's too low? Check into cash. So where do you go? .com. Do it online in a record time. It's the easy way to get money next day. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. Just stay in the house, check into cash, and grab your mouse.com. Get your money online, check into cash, right on time.com. You can be sure it's secure from our bank straight to yours. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. No time to get away, check into cash. You've got to stay home.com. Hey, that's okay, check into cash. You can do it alone.com. Any old time, do it online. Just stay in the house and grab your mouse. Do a quick click from home. Get your money overnight at the right website. Do a quick click from home. Go to checkintocash.com.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
Guns, guns, and more guns. That's right, folks. U.S. Money Shops has just received a large shipment of pre-owned Glock 22s, 23s, and the awesome Beretta 8040D Cougar. These guns are law enforcement trade-ins that start at just $379.99 while supplies last. At U.S. Money Shops, there's no shortage of guns, so if you're looking for a great deal on a newer pre-owned gun, then check us out first.
Buy or sell or buy today, the better way at U.S. Money Shops.
Visit usmoneyshops.com for the location nearest you.
All of my friends that I loved yesterday have gone. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. The songbirds are singing, the dells seem to say have gone. They have gone home. Gone. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before. Gone. They have gone home. Gone. They have gone home. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home.
That song we play every week to try to remember all the people who have gone home, the loved ones that
that
we've
song.
lost, and so if you've had a loved one that was that passed away this week, it's a sad thing that you lose a loved one, and we're sad that we lose that history because every time someone dies,
Yeah.
we lose a
We
little
lose
bit
it.
more history. So we encourage you to save that. We got Bob Refner and Terry Evans here today. We're talking about Hardwick clothes and some of that. And next thing I want them to start thinking about is some of the crazy things that happen and some of the crazy people that worked out there, and you got to name names. That's always a rule. You know,
How
you've got-
many hours do we have?
well,
We got as long as
to
we
condense
need.
this down to about 50 more minutes. But yeah, we need to know who played the jokes on who and who did this, who done something dumb. Did you ever make the wrong color and ship it out somewhere? I mean, you know what crazy things happen out there, Bob? Just in your office.
In my office?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had a gentleman came in one time that was working out there, and he was just irate to no end of the world. I mean, just let me have it. And I just got out of my chair, walked out, shut the door behind him, and let him sit in there. and I waited about 5 minutes, and I walked back in. He was sitting there looking, and he says, I guess you're not going to listen to me anymore, are you? I said, no.
No.
That's a good management style. I'm going to have to remember that one, just get up and leave. Yeah.
I've got to tell a story on Bob, and don't remember the people that were involved, but Bob with the ladies was a hugger. He would hug any of them. You know, didn't matter age or size or anything like that. So Bob just enjoyed saying good morning to some of them, and
taking their flowers to them.
He would give them a big hug and all this stuff. Well, one day, apparently
remember, my wife and my mother-in-law are listening and watching.
Okay, well, one day, I'm sure Annette probably has heard this story, but one day apparently Bob hugged the wrong one. Now, according to Bob, she wasn't maybe the most attractive.
No.
But anyway, her husband thought she was. And he came out there one day and confronted Bob to leave his woman alone. And as I remember the story, kind of an old country guy, you know, many, many years ago. And so, Bob, I think that was the last time you ever hugged that one.
Yeah, I learned my lesson very quickly right there that I need to start to be a little more selective. Another situation, following up on what Terry brought that subject up, is we had one lady out there that was quite a bit a snuff dipper. And in her snuff dipping, she would always have a little snuff running down the side of her mouth. And they told me, said, we're going to get you when it comes her birthday. Because I always give them a kiss on the cheek and brought flowers to them. And sure enough, her birthday came up, and I got the flowers, and I went back there. And as I walked back the aisle with the flowers, I noticed everybody just started turning and watching. And when I finally got back to her, you know, they were already standing up wanting to see, how are you going to handle this one, you know? And I took one look at her, and she had the little snuff. So I got as close up to her ear as I could, gave her a little peck, and got out of there.
And then when he got the Listerine.
One of the names I'd like to bring up, one of the most colorful characters in my years out there was Doug Stewart.
Oh, man.
Doug was over the computer room. Doug was a #1 fisherman. He had trophy fish all over his walls in his office. And Doug was a character. I mean, he could say some of the funniest things. But I used to love to go in his office with a purpose of talking to him about something business-wise. And I'd look up at those fish on the wall and I'd say, Doug, those are really nice. Those are super nice fish. Yeah, I caught this one on Lake Chickamauga. I caught this one so-and-so. I said, well, that's nice, but where I come from, we use those for bait and walk out. But Doug had some of the more unusual sayings, didn't he, Bob?
He had something for everything and every place and every time. Some of them you couldn't repeat on the radio.
Well, this is Woo.
Not on this show.
Yeah, on Fro Show in the afternoon, you can say anything you want to, but yeah.
Another name, Bob, Alice Maddox.
Oh, my goodness. She's still alive, so she may be listening.
Yeah, but Alice was a character there in the office, a bookkeeper type position. And so anyway, Alice had her way of doing things. Now, sometimes she was there into the night working on our big account back then was called Mercantile, and it was a huge account. Well, Alice did the bookkeeping on that account. And she and a former president of the company used to get into these discussions, and they would have a meeting daily or at least a few times a week about the Mercantile account, how it's doing. What about this $5 deduction? What about this 50-cent deduction? And it was amusing to be in that meeting because Alice, with her way of doing and thinking and explaining, and his way of keeping on questioning, just kept things going. And Alice, I apologize to you for this, but I have to tell this story. People that know me know that I don't take too many things serious, and so I go in on Groundhog Day one day out there, you know, and I make the mistake, and Alice, once again, I'm apologizing to you ahead of time. I go in there one day on Groundhog Day, and I look at Walter Mock, who was working there at the time, and that's another total out of character for out there. And I said, Walt, I wonder if Alice saw her shadow this morning. Well, he didn't walk to her. He ran to her and told her what I said. And for the next 30 days, Alice did not speak to me, did not acknowledge my existence. But Alice was a lot of fun. And another story told on Alice, she worked late. She worked hard. She was a very loyal employee. She went home, sat down in her easy chair with her clothes still on, woke up sometime later, wasn't sure with her clothes on whether she had just come home or she had taken a nap and it was morning and go back to work. So those are just some of the people.
I think we've all had that feeling that we were like, okay, am I late for work or did I just sit down?
Yeah. My important question, if you're running late, is that exercise?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, for me, it's work.
Bob, another one that I wrote down here, Judy Overton. Now, she may have been the character of all characters out there.
Bless her heart, she's gone now, but she was a character. I mean, she would cut up with anything and everything and everybody, but she was one well of a good worker. She really knew the computer stuff there. But I enjoyed working with her. But going back a little bit in time, when Bill Foster became the president of the company after DS retired, of course, I always worked directly. My boss was always the president of the company, and I would answer directly to them. So when DS had retired, then Bill became the president of the company. This is when we were getting ready for the 100th anniversary. And I had just mentioned to him casually, I said, well, what we need to do, maybe get the governor or somebody big over here. And he said, it won't happen. So I went to Nashville. I can't remember if it was Terry or maybe it was Chad Carter. Chad went with me. Well, what we did is we got the governor's schedule, and I figured the only way I was going to get him was intercept him. So at the Sheraton Hotel, we knew he was going to be there at 10 o'clock that morning to meet so-and-so. And so I had asked questions when I go, so
Who was the governor then, Bob?
Governor, well, I'm going to
okay.
I'm going to throw that there. I'll save that for the end. So what happened was we found at what time the governor was going to come in, and his car came under the thing. So I positioned myself just as soon as he got out of his car, before his one policeman and his bodyguard were there, I was going to approach him. And I went right to Governor Ray Blanton's face. And I told him who I was. We were having our 100th anniversary, and we would just be overwhelmed to have him come and visit us. Well, Ray was relatively new governor, and he was hunting for any kind of notoriety he could get. He thought that was a great idea. So his publicist got in contact with me, and we brought Ray Blanton over there for our 100th anniversary. He flew into the airport and came, and everything went really hunky-dory, as they say. And Bill Foster thought, man, Refner, you hung the moon. You got this done. I can't believe it. And I was feeling my oats. Man, I have proven to my boss I can do it. And then Ray got in all that trouble, had to resign. We had the front of the movie where he would introduce the movie and all this stuff, and that all had to be cut out.
Well, I was just worried about you when you're stalking Ray Blanton. He had some ties with some underworld type people, maybe, so that might not have been a good idea. He used a few of those, and they were nearby, like Chattanooga too. Before I go on there, I want to mention Terry Evans does a show on CLE, or it's Mix 104.1, and you do a football panel, and which I've been a pleasure to be on, and you also do tell us real quick about when the football panel comes on and and you do broadcast for all the games.
The panel of experts is a long-time program before the Cleveland games, and Ron, John Cook, Scott Carroll, people like that are on there. It's a lot of fun. We also have usually every week a different lady on there, and the less they know about football, the more fun it is. And then also other pre-games on there, and then do the Cleveland high school games.
So every week that there's a Cleveland game, that whether it's on a Thursday night or Friday night, like this one coming on Thursday. So that's Mix 104.1. Catch Terry Evans and Scott Carroll. They do the play-by-play calls of Cleveland High School, and I'm a Bradley guy. I'm sitting at the Bradley game listening to 104.1 to keep up what's going on over at Cleveland. I get my feel.
Bob, given equal time here, Bob is a longtime cohort of Corky and BAC. Of course, BAC's not doing games now, but you helped Corky for years and years, and also was on their football panel.
Right, we did, and Corky, of course, and I just is basically pulled out. Age has caught up with him, But Corky was a straight shooter from the word go. We made some long trips together, and I remember specifically. Bob Henshaw was with us one night, and we went out to West Tennessee for a football game out there, and we went in, couldn't find any place to eat because it was one of the small towns, and Henshaw ordered catfish on a Friday night. And we ordered something else, and anyway, they brought us our food, and it was absolutely atrocious looking. But when they brought his catfish, it was fresh caught. It was unreal, And I thought, man, oh man, oh man. I said, you talk about bad luck. We had bad luck that night. But that's when the Cleveland High was really rolling heavy, in football and everything, in the days of Coach Bobby Scott, who did an excellent job there. But I would just have to say that Corky, while we're talking a little bit about him and retiring, his wife and my wife, we were good friends more than just on the radio as such, And he was the voice, of course, when you talk about people that he's helped along the way in broadcasting, and 104's leader, it was one that I guess he used to hang around the radio station, didn't he? And he would learn his business there, and now owns the other radio station. But Corky never, and all the time I've would have an association with him, never said a negative thing about anybody. He was his dad was a minister. The only thing that I ever heard Corky say that he did not like or did not appreciate was fried chicken. His dad was a preacher, and everybody invited the preacher over. They had fried chicken. Corky said, I got so sick of eating fried chicken, so I knew when we were on a trip or something, if we were going to order anything, Corky was not going to order any fried chicken.
I didn't know that. Now, Corky came to Cleveland about 1960. 60, and not only his radio time and just, unbelievable 15 state championships he's called, and the numbers are just unbelievable. Our press box over at Bradley's named after him. But I think one of the more things is very involved in the Dixie Youth baseball program there.
And his wife.
And getting that started in the very early days here. I know I played, I guess it's 58, 59, 60, something there, 61, 62 era, and I remember that, Corky's very involved with that. Him and, of course, used to watch Bill Talley and him coach the Phillies, yes, and had a guy named Tony Whitener was the pitcher, and he kept. I said I almost had a home run on him. I hit it. It went over the fence, but they had some midget that jumped up and got caught on the fence, and the ball hit him in the glove. And so that was my only home run in the Little League I didn't get hit. So, but. You had to hit Tony Whitener before he threw that third curveball because he got tough. Wicked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Corky, funny things you remember.
Corky was really the voice that people didn't realize his influence outside of this area, because when you went anywhere, every station seemed like would come up and talk to Corky and ask him about this or ask him about that, because he was so versed in all the different sports and kept up with everything. And when you lived the lifestyle he did, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he used to go home and try to take a nap in the afternoon, and then get back at night and ball games, whatever, late at night. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did.
Yeah, he's done a great job. Folks, we're listening to Whoop FM here on Old Town Cleveland, or Old Town Cleveland on Whoop FM. That might be the better way to say that. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking to Bob Refner and Terry Evans today. We're talking about Hardwick clothes. And if you call, we'll talk about anything. Any other characters you want to talk about?
Well, I'm sorry, I just wanted to encourage everybody to go down and see the racetrack, the dirt track racing exhibit. Today's the very last day. You'll have a few more hours to get down there. If you've missed it, you've missed it, because there aren't very many museums that have done such a thing as they have done. Also, our friends are up at the farmers market selling everything, and I'm pretty sure that JR's girl has some fresh milk up there today if you want to go by and see her. And our friends out at the cannery has good produce, and
if you're
B&B
making
Marina.
homemade ice cream today, that's what you need to go get, that fresh milk to make homemade ice cream. Now this is the real stuff here. Now
B&B Marina tonight. You can see the convertibles at 8:30, and you can get you a free donut today by coming by and wishing the Village Bake Shop a happy 53rd anniversary.
And also, the Cleveland Speedway starts back September 19th. Dirt track racing is back in Cleveland. It was here for 60 years, and then it faded. And luckily, someone bought the track, and their new bleachers, new handicap, new paint, cleaned the bathrooms, everything.
It looks great.
And also, go down to the museum center. They really did a fantastic job on the exhibit, and that's where I bought my copy of your guys' DVD.
Yeah, go.
And, I know we're here and talking things, and I appreciate you inviting Bob and myself down here, but I love dirt track racing. You guys did a great job, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
I would have told you when I saw you again, but a great job of the DVD, and I can't imagine how you guys cut down all the information to that amount of time.
It was heart-wrenching. Just to mention, too, we put out a book to go with that, and I think at this moment there's probably 2 or 3 of those over at Central City Auto Parts, and there's 3 at the Museum Center, and that's all I have.
Well, there's some ordered.
Probably will reprint, but we don't know that.
And our friend John Cook wrote all the music for that, too.
Did a great job.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, this is David Swafford.
Hey, David, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How's it going?
Great.
I had a question about since Alan Jones has bought the Hardwick clothes and everything, are there any any people from the Hardwick family still involved?
Yes, our advertising manager, Nancy Deacons, is still there every day. Tommy Hopper is still chairman, and we don't see Tommy as much as we did before. But yes, Nancy is there on a daily basis, does a great job putting together a lot of new things, especially new pictures that will be on the internet site. And so, yes, there's family members still involved with Hardwick Clothes. And I'd like to say, David, to throw this out, the new Hardwick has a lot of things coming in the pipeline. Like I said, we now have hardwick.com that the general public can go on and order if they wish. It's a 24/7 operation. You can call anytime and talk to those people about what you want to order. They can give you answers on your questions. And, it was sad that Hardwick went through the bankruptcy that was filed last December. That was very sad for everybody involved. And thankfully, someone like Alan came along to keep things going. And otherwise, it was a very bleak future unless Alan had stepped in. And I can say that personally because I'm still there. And, I didn't want to be on the street looking for something new. But anyway, if Alan had not stepped in, then you've got about 250 people out on the street looking for work. And so sad that the old Hardwick had to end. But the new Hardwick, and he and his people, and he's brought in some key people that know what they're doing, he and those key people are turning things around.
Well,
and it's going to be an entirely new company in a lot of ways in the very near future. And a lot of that's already taken place.
It's just like Hardwick's has always done, is that they hit the wall and they just turned around and went off in another direction. And I'm thankful that they've been able to turn around. David, tell everybody very quickly the story about the suit from Wild River.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank Hardwick Clothes. I was the guest curator when we had the 50th anniversary for the museum display. And Hardwick Clothes made a replica of Montgomery Clift's suit that he wore in the movie.
And I believe the museum has that in their archives now.
Yeah, and the movie Wild River.
Wild River. I think the funny thing is that he just kind of came to town with one suit when they were making the movie in 58 and 59, and they called upon Hardwick Clothes to make him duplicate suits because he was getting tossed in the river and getting dirty. He's out fighting in the mud, and he needed, to refresh his outfit. And it would have taken months to have gotten those from Hollywood, but Hardwick Clothes spit them right out for him.
Yeah, and to further that, he was scheduled to be thrown in the river in October.
Ooh.
And if you can imagine getting tossed in the river, and it actually was Montgomery Clift getting thrown in the river. There's a lot of stories that people say that his extras were the ones thrown in, but that's not true. It was actually Montgomery Clift. And but they had to cancel that because of only having one suit. And so, like you say, they got Hardwick Clothes to duplicate several of those suits, but they had to wait for even Hardwick Clothes to make those, so that delayed that scene until November.
Ooh.
So he didn't get thrown into the Hiwassee River until November. So I can't even imagine that, because it's rough enough going down the Hiwassee in the summer.
Yep, that's right.
I wonder how many takes they did on that, David. One?
2 that I know.
Oh, really?
He did a practice run just for practice, and then they did the finals, did it in one take after that.
That's double cold. All righty. Thanks, David.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
David brought up a point there about the movie, which was a great movie. I love that movie, and they did a great job on the 50th anniversary of it. But through different companies, we have shipped things recently being the last few years, to the Jimmy Fallon Show, the Survivor Show, different Hollywood types have received, or some of the shows have received Hardwick Clothes. Now, we didn't sell it directly to CBS or somebody like that, but our customers had the contacts. And so sometimes on TV you will see a Hardwick garment, but unless you knew that we shipped it out there, you wouldn't have known it was a Hardwick. But a lot of different cases where Hardwick has been involved with either the entertainment industry, and a lot of the stadiums, the ushers wear Hardwick blazers, don't they, Bob?
They do that.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hello, this is Bob Cash.
Hey,
Bob Cash.
I'm enjoying your program this morning. You got my brother on there.
Well, that's I don't know which one of you claims which one there, though.
Well, I'll claim Bob.
All right. Now, listen here. What I called about, I've been listening to you and enjoying. And Ron, why don't we do this? Get a hold to Red, have her go out to Hardwick Clothes, see if she can get a job out there to where she can spend some money on me when she takes me out, you see.
Well, that's right. So she needs a job for at least a couple of weeks there to make enough to take you to dinner, right?
Yes, sir, Bob.
Okay, well, all right. See,
We might have a little line.
we'll see if Terry can get inside to the HR department over there and get Red a job.
Well, Bob, I'll use all my influence, and then we'll get Refner to actually get the work done, because he still has the influence. But I hope you're doing well this morning, Bob. Good to hear from you.
I was talking to Terry here the other night. Terry said, Bobby said, what have you been doing today? I said, I went out town, just did a little business, and I got married. Said, you done what? I said, yeah, I got married. So, well, who is it? I said, I didn't ask her name.
He's a true Evans right there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, guys, I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, Bob.
And I'll keep listening. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bob is the only person I know who's jumped out of an airplane 3 times and didn't hit the ground.
Yeah.
First time he hit a tree, the next time he hit a building, next time he hit a car. And, the first person to ride in an ambulance when the Bradley County Ambulance Service started, was him.
Really?
He jumped out of the airplane and hit a tree out here on 64 Highway, and the ambulance come picked him up. So his jump master was only had one leg. He'd lost the other leg in a parachute accident, and I'm going, that ought to tell you something out there. You have to, and I want to say back when David talked about Alan buying that, I know there'll be some changes thing, but I'll tell you, Alan's really into history.
Yes.
Really proud of history, and I think one of the reasons that was interested in this was to save the history of a company that's old. And I'm sure he wants to make it a business and a successful business, and some things will change. If any of us took over tomorrow, we would change some things.
Well, you have to change with the times.
But I think great. But talking about the jackets and things like that, it's amazing. And compared to other clothiers, is that the right word?
Yes.
In America, where does it rank today, and where did it rank? Well, let's get this call first, and we'll let you think about that. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey there. This is Barry Wilson.
Hey, Barry.
How you doing today?
Good.
Great.
You're live on the air.
Hey, Terry. How you doing?
Barry, good to hear from you. I'll probably have my vehicle down there sometime next week, buddy. It's only got 200,000 miles on it.
Well, good. We'll try to wear it out some more. I just called and let you know, my mom worked at Woolen Mill back in, when she quit, she was impregnated with me, so I guess I'm the reason she quit. Anyway, she worked there a couple of years, she told me, and worked up on the 4th floor, so I guess she was in upper management.
Just imagine how hot that had to be, and all that wool material in July that you were cutting those suits, and the lint. It had to be a pretty tough job.
You know it was. There was no air conditioning. I don't know if they even had fans or not, but anyway, it had to be hot in the summertime because that building's old.
When Bob was explaining that steaming process a while ago, I thought, boy, I just can't imagine being the person having to be in the room with that going on.
My goodness. Yeah, it was. There was a lot of stuff going on there. I think she told me she sewed on sleeves on coats and she worked on pants. I don't know what. Maybe she pressed or something, but doing the press in a hot building like that, you had to be pretty fortitudinal and wanting a job pretty bad.
Yeah, well, you had to eat.
Particularly for that $1 an hour back in those days.
Well, probably wasn't that
even
much.
less than that, probably in your time.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, I just, whatever they earned, they earned. Yeah.
And Barry, there's lots of old pictures around, and she might accidentally be in one of them. I wouldn't know. What year do you think she was there, or years?
Well, I was born in '56, so she was there probably in '54 or '55, maybe. I don't know, maybe part.
Well, in 1951, they actually sold the woolen mills to Peerless Woolen Mills.
Okay.
And so then they went full force, gung-ho, just making garments then, because after World War II, they'd come up with all these new synthetic fabrics.
Yeah.
And so Hardwick's just kind of turned that over to other folks.
Yeah. Well, they'd done a little bit of everything there. They were...
They have just changed with the times for 134 years. Yes, they have.
Well, that's good to know.
All righty.
I enjoy history, too. I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But, they had... they opened up in 1880. Well, in 1885 and 88 and 96, they had fires. Of course, you can imagine wooden buildings, no fire department.
A lot of lint.
Oil on the floors, poof, right? Well, in 1904, they had a major fire that basically burned down the whole structure. And that's when the employees came up with the big steam whistle. And everybody that's old enough remembers the old steam whistle that you could hear all the way to Benton, I think, sometimes. Yep. And was it 4:30 in the morning? It would alarm to wake everybody up, and then it would alarm again when you were supposed to be at work, and then it blew in the afternoon, and people came out of the building like the building was on fire. But that old steam whistle came off of a steamboat.
Yeah, let's get this call. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey, Red.
I just wanted to tell you, Bob Cash is waiting on me to get a job to take him out to eat.
Yep.
He's going to wind up by himself.
He's going to be hungry?
I don't work.
Well, you got all that money.
And I'm not going to work.
She made money in vegetables.
No, it was corn liquor.
Well, corn. And,
I retired from that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to get no job to take him out to eat. He's cheapo.
Yeah, he is. That's pretty much. Now, Red, I'm going to ask you a serious question. How many gallons do you think you made in your life?
In my lifetime?
Uh-huh.
Ron, I couldn't even count it.
Was it like 100 gallons?
More than that. I mean, we've had it for years.
So, but that converted corn. Now, what did you do with the mash when you got done?
Oh, they just pour it out, start all over.
Well, you didn't feed it to the pigs or anything?
We didn't have pigs.
Oh, okay.
Everywhere it's at, they just dump it, start a new run. So, but
you dumped it anywhere you needed dead grass.
It was good money.
Yep. Big risk. Okay.
Red.
Thanks, Red. Have a good
And
day.
I'm sure Bob's listening and he heard it and everything. Bye-bye. We run a dating service between Bob and Red every week here. That goes on every week. So what ranked? Where does Hardwick rank in? At one time it was the world's largest, and of course then as more people competed, where did we rank? In the last 30, 40, 50 years, Bob?
Well, competitively, the offshore has been the thing that has been, I don't want to say the demise, but the recession within Hardwick's business or anybody else that's trying to manufacture within the country. When they ship everything overseas, you're talking about where you get work done for almost nothing. And a Hardwick blazer, I don't know where they're at now, $50, $60 a piece, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yep. A little bit more now? Yep. Okay. See, I've been going 7 years, so they've raised the price a little.
It's called inflation.
But you got to make enough money, to cover that and have some profit in it. And when the offshore people are making blazers and selling them for $30 and $35, $25, $30 less, and the competitiveness as far as quality is getting a lot better, but to know that it's made with the quality that Hardwick has and has a label behind it and the stores that carry it, that's the one thing that probably been kind of a lifesaver. People want to know that they're buying
made
American
in USA,
made.
right?
Yeah.
And a quality product.
Who was the big competitor with Hardwick? I mean, who did you compete with out there? I mean. Is it the big name brands we see in the stores, or is that who, or did you have just a different niche of the markets?
When I was there was a company up out of Connecticut or somewhere up in the Northeast, and then there was one over in St. Louis, Missouri area. Those two companies were the biggest competitors, and they've basically, from what I understand, gone offshore, which kind of leaves Hardwick a non-competitor within the states. Now, Hardwick, of course, is competing with everything that's coming out of the country, Terry might be more up on that than I would be because I've been going 7 years.
Let's get
this. Go ahead, Callie. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hi. This is Karen Johnson.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Bob. Terry.
How you doing, Karen?
Doing great. I retired.
And the company's never been the same since.
Oh, they're all good. They're all good people, that's for sure. Well, anyway, I just want to say I went to work there in '72, and I worked shipping. And yes, they had 2 fans in that whole shipping room.
Blowing hot air.
Yes, it was hot. But it was like 3 bars that the clothes went on. We had to climb ladders. And, them aisles was pretty long. Sometimes you'd go down through there on that ladder, and all of a sudden you'd stop and about fall off. But anyway, we got a nickel extra for climbing the ladder. I think I made it started out $1.60 and made like $1.65. I started. But anyway, and then I remember we had an order for Macy's, and I believe it was like a 10,000 units of garments, and it took us like a week to pull it. But, them coats was heavy, and they were like wool and stuff like that, and you had to lift them and hang up on that top rack.
Karen, wasn't it true that things were ready to go? You had them stored there, and so people could order, and you guys got the orders out really fast. Right. It was kind of like everything was kind of, not everything, but a lot of things were pre-made and were hanging there, so you guys could ship it out in 24 hours or something from the order.
And that's better than like it is in the fast food business, ready-made, and you wait. Your jackets can wait.
No.
But when we moved into the new mill, as they was putting the bars, put the garments on the bars. I mean, they were still putting the bars that we was hanging the garments. But when we got in there, air conditioner, we just thought we were heaven. But it was a good place to work. They supplied good needs for our family, and the head people and you personally, they knew you by your name.
Yes, that's the difference. And that's something that when you're reading about Hardwicks, you see from day one to today. It was the people that inside those buildings that made the difference. The building didn't matter. It was the people inside the building.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you know Lenny Jones or not, but Lenny, he would dress up every holiday. I mean, Santa, Dolly Parton, he's been a clown. I mean, you think he's been Elvis. He would dress up like that in the morning, for the head people come in. He'd go around with candy, but I tell you, we had some good times there, and I've been praying for Hardwick. I know they'll do a good job, and they'll go on and in this community and do great.
I would add, Karen, that I was at a banquet last night and sat with Lanny, and he and I were talking about some of the same things you're mentioning right there. The fun that we had, even though we were serious about our jobs and what we were trying to accomplish. It was a family atmosphere. We loved each other, we'd help each other, and we had a lot of fun together.
Yes, we did. Well, how are you talking, you guys?
Okay.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Talking about people that I need to say hi to that used to work there, and these were some great people. Had a lot of fun with them. Jerry Dockery, who was the executive secretary out there, she was great to work with. Juanita Petit, Bob, Velvy Mantooth, and Velvy is an interesting story from the aspect that she is the only person I've ever met who doesn't care for food. Velvy once made the statement, if they could just put it in a pill, I'd swallow it and wouldn't have to take time
John
to eat.
Cook and I are a lot like that, Terry. Yeah.
And but anyway, Velvy was great to work with, and her husband Randall was a great guy, elementary school teacher and elementary coach, and Velvy was a lot of fun to work with. A half a sandwich would fill Velvy up. Another thing, Bob, you were in personnel, and you had this deal where the kids would come in. I forgot what it was called, where career day or something like that, where a senior from high school would come in and just see what work was like for a day. And we got a good employee out of that. Sarah Allen came out there as a senior out of Charleston, I guess, and then went to work there after she graduated. Rhonda Shamlin worked there. Her mom worked there and did a great job. So there's been a world of people to come through there, and I can't remember so many of them, but something that struck me from the first day I was there, those people care more than any place I ever worked at. And one time on the bulletin board, Bob had put up a note. Next Wednesday, we're having a pounding for so-and-so. And I thought, pounding doesn't sound good. Are we going to beat somebody up? Bob, tell them what that meant.
Well, pounding, most people know, is they were kind of in a situation where maybe they had a rough time or something, and they would bring in some groceries or just anything to help them help somebody out, which was, I think they'd have a lot of churches that have a pounding.
I've never heard it called that.
Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Good morning, you're on Old Town Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. They used to have a clothing store here in Cleveland.
I think they still do.
Where?
It's at the corner of Church and First Street. And then occasionally out at the plant they will have a sale. Terry, do you still do that?
Okay, we need to clear up a couple of things.
Oh, okay.
One, there's
not,
no connection between the store downtown and Hardwick Close. A member of the Hardwick family owns that store, but as far as connection, there's no connection there anymore. And then second of all, we used to have friends and family sale, and I don't know when the next one would be.
Let me say something very quickly. You know, persistence can kind of pay off, and I guess this is kind of patting myself on the back, but I was on the board for many years when I was out there, and I would always bring up the idea that we need to have an outdoor or an outside sale for employees and family and friends. I said it's cash, it's money, you don't have to wait to collect it, it's there. And they were just kind of stuck on the route that this is the way we do it. We don't want to change. So I kept harping in our board meetings and this, that, and fuss and that. And I did it for about 3 or 4 years. So probably the last 10 years that I was there, one day I think it was Bill Foster just kind of slammed his hand down on the table and made an expletive and said, "Okay, Refner," he said, "we're just going to find out how this thing will go." He said, "and you're in charge of it." So I set up the 3-day or 4-day sale. I don't remember what it was. Got flyers out, took them down to different places, schools, church, anything I could do. And we had either a 3 or a 4-day, but I know we did, I think it was like $270,000 in 3 or 4 days sales, you know. And I can remember DS coming over. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but saying, "You had it. You won this one," like that, you know. And they've continued to do it. And I always thought, you know, people around here, they're going to buy it. People got money, are going to buy it. It was cash. You didn't have to worry about shipping. You didn't have to worry about collection or anything like that. So they continue to have those sales, and my understanding is they've all been very successful.
I've been there several times and have some coats and suits that I got there during those sales.
Caller, did you have anything else?
I went out there to the plant and tried to buy clothes, and they said they didn't sell them.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you.
Well, Terry will tell us if.
wait a minute. Where you was telling me where that store's at now, Caddy Corner across the street used to be Hardwick clothing store. Right. I used to buy suits there made from Hardwick clothing.
Yeah.
But once they closed that store down, they stole.
You just can't find anything anymore. Terry,
let me interject on the history of that situation, since it was back in kind of when I started.
I'm not interested in the history because I was born and raised here and I know all about it. But my question is why don't they fix it for that you can buy?
You can, sir, if you go to hardwick.com.
Hardwick.com.
Yes, sir.
And you can order direct from the factory now.
Well, is that something they just set up?
Set up.
Yes, just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So let us know how that works.
But how do you get to try it on and see if it fits or not?
Well, sir, you have to order it. That's the only way. So make sure you know what size before you order.
Yeah. Well, normally I do, but sometimes different clothes are made different. I bought other clothes here at Belks and Pennies and had to take them back because the material they was made out of, you couldn't keep lint and stuff off of it. And it's just, I just a couple of weeks ago, I had to take another one back to Belks because I had it dry cleaned and wore it to church, and it looked like it was covered with snow. It was so white with linen and stuff.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Well, I think you're familiar with the Hardwick quality, so I encourage you to
give up.
dohardwick.com, and I hope you're satisfied with what you get.
What I would do, I'd go down to Parks and Belts and try on the clothes and then go order it from Hardwick.
That's what people do.
Exactly.
That's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye. Terry, seriously, if they do decide somewhere along the way to have a sale, you be sure that we get a couple weeks' notice,
It will
please.
be advertised.
Let me just interject there what I was trying to say to him in relationship to the store downtown. The store actually separated itself from Hardwick Clothes as far as an entity probably
a long time ago.
A long time ago. It was one of the co-owners or brothers, or I can't remember relationship there, but anyway, he took the store as part of his interest and pulled out of the company, and he ran the store, and so it really didn't have any ownership or direct connection to the company
Now,
probably for the last 40 years.
Do they sell Hardwick clothes in that store? They don't? Okay.
Very little.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Ron, if I can report to work Monday, I've got to throw some names out.
You go right ahead. We like that. And you can respond real quick at 614-5553 if you don't like what Terry
anyway,
says.
These people deserve a lot of credit. Now, this is not everybody, but these are some of the people that really make things work out there behind the scenes. Paul Bates, Dolores Beck, Annette Black, Diana Bramlett, Keisha Brewer, Jennifer Brusky, Kay Buckner, our new president, Bruce Belushi, Priscilla Callahan, Jana Castile, Carmen Chastain, Nancy Deacons, Sheila Edwards, our new designer, Jeffrey Didit, Miriam Hammock, Janice Harris, Karen Maggette, Carrie Freeman, Rhonda Kent, Pat Key, Isla Kirkpatrick, Tom Contanikas, Michaela Liner, Mary Lowe, Alice Maroon, Linda Ogle, who's also been there, Bob, forever and ever. Linda's a great one. Jim Park, Tanya Peterson, Rob Pierce, Robbie Price, Shirley Pullen, Mildred Rogers, Faye Sipe, Joe Smith, Ken Smith, Ann Stevenson. Ann has 40-plus years in out there. Bob came right out of Bradley High School.
Right.
Her brother, Jerry Stevenson, Robin Stewart, Kathy Stewman, Diane Wade, Gathena Woods, Sheila Benton, Brandy Morgan. Those people, I don't know that they all knew this was going on, but some of them knew this was coming up, and they'd seen it on Facebook, and so they said, if you want to come back Monday, we want to hear our name.
And Terry, just something really important there. Mention your president's name, your new boss again.
His name is Bruce Belushi, and he's out of Chicago and New York. He was with Hart, Schaffner, and Marks. He was vice president for them, and super good guy.
That's Terry Evans saying that he's a really good guy.
Well, underline
credit for that.
But anyway, I had to give those people credit because they are key people out there.
We got a call coming in here.
That's interesting.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, I'm a little bit off track this morning there, but I've been listening in. I thought I'd better put my 2 cents worth in.
Hey, put in 3 cents worth. That's okay. Go ahead.
You know, it's just about the Vena reunion time.
Oh, go ahead, Ed. I was thinking about you yesterday.
Well,
I thought he hadn't called yet. Wonder if they're having a reunion.
I've been busy. I've been busy to be. 20th of September. Don McCracken is going to be our DJ this year, so maybe he'll be putting a good word in for us sometime. But anyway, I thought I'd tell them, because you have listeners out there that comes all the time. So 20th of September.
That's the Trevina School reunion. And where's it going to be located this year?
It's going to be right over there at Kentford Church Pavilion, just like it was last year.
What time?
Shucks. We ain't got it down yet. I'll call back next
Well, just come early and stay late, and you ought to cover it, right?
Just call us back next week.
Yeah, just be thinking about it. But it is the 20th. We got the date, but I didn't get a time.
Sounds
All right,
good.
sounds good.
Thanks, Ed.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. I believe there's going to be a Tinga reunion that same day in Tinga, a lunch reunion. If anybody grew up down in Murray County, you might want to go see those folks.
I might know a few people down there. We got another call here. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning. It's Lisa Poe Jones.
Hey, Lisa.
I wanted to throw out a quick story since these gentlemen mentioned Velvet Mantu. I was at South Cleveland Methodist with her from the time I was born for 33 years, and there was one thing guaranteed: if a pastor was assigned to South Cleveland Methodist, he would leave there better dressed than he was when he came, because Velvy always made sure that every pastor got a Hardwick suit. We would raise money. That was, sometimes it was their anniversary, sometimes it was the birthday present, sometimes it was just Pastor Appreciation Day, but I don't think there were probably very, very few pastors that ever left there without getting a new Hardwick suit.
Well,
and it's different. It's different.
Is she talking to me?
Yeah, she talking to me.
Yeah.
Who is that? I'm trying to figure.
Lisa Poe Jones.
And she's
Okay, right. Okay. I was trying to listen there. I being an old Church of God boy, I was having trouble tuning into those Methodists right there. Oh.
Well, so we don't get the suit wet. We just sprinkle.
Right.
I couldn't believe that Debbie had never heard of a pounding. Because
No, I never heard it called a pounding. I imagine that meant a long time ago that everybody brought a pound of this or a pound of that.
I took a few pounding myself.
Exactly. But I'm going to get out here and not take up your time. But that was my aunt worked out there for many years, Pat Hahn. But my biggest connection to Hardwick was Velvy and all the suits she got for her pastors. And y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh, this 2 hours has
final comments here, Bob?
Well, it's still all about the people.
Yes.
The company is there, the name is there, the building is there, but when it boils down to, like Faye Sipe, who's over personnel right now, she was there when I went to work, and like I said, I was there 35 years. I've been going 7, so she's probably got pushing on close to 50 years. And people like that have been there, have been steady and supportive of the company. That is the success of Hardwick Clothes, the people.
And one time we didn't talk about that, but it was probably in the early 1910s, 20, it was the biggest employer in Bradley County. And then as I grew up, it's probably been in the top 5 employers in Bradley County.
We are very fortunate that we've had manufacturers here in this community.
Magic Chef got to 2,000 one time, and then you were at 1,000. So, those are big, here in Bradley County. You take Bowater across the river, of course, So, but they're big. Terry?
Final comment to echo what Bob said. It is about the people. To give you an example, Diane Wade's husband, Floyd Wade Sr., had to go to Murfreesboro and be in the VA hospital over there. Well, when Diane would go visit him, she saw so many needs over there. So she comes back and she tells the people there in the plant, in the office, of these needs that the VA hospital has in Murfreesboro. And Bob, I don't remember totals, but those people got together and gave a tremendous amount of things that the VA veterans needed over at the hospital in Murfreesboro. To me, that's a prime example of the people that work out there.
And us, working in the cable industry, when I started, I worked with a company that sounds like what Hardwick's. We took care of people, and then we became those big corporations, and we weren't people anymore. So, I hope that they keep that hometown feel to them.
Yeah, the thing is everybody needs to be concerned if there's anything that they can do as a supportive measure, keep Hardwick going, because it's going to affect so many people in a positive way.
Well, yeah, and like I said, Made in the USA is probably we don't do that. I had a great uncle. If it didn't say Made in the USA in the Union and it was a Chevrolet, he didn't buy it usually. So, but we got to do that. Well, folks, that's been a great show. Debbie, you got anything finally you want to say there?
No, we'll just see you here next week.
Okay.
But we just want to not see the U.S. Olympic team wearing blazers made in China anymore.
Amen.
That is not acceptable. Bob?
And I think in closing, everybody needs to say hats off to Alan Jones for stepping in and the effort and the job he did in bringing it around to what the situation is today. It's a whole lot more positive right now than it was, say, 6, 8, 9 weeks ago.
It sure is, and we really do appreciate what he does. Folks, every week we remind people is that go home, get the pictures from out under the bed, out of the shoe boxes, out of the drawers. Get someone in your family to make sure we know who's in the pictures. Write it on a white label, peel it off and put it on back the picture. Record your parents and grandparents, your neighbors, your friends, and do an oral or visual memory of them. If you just have a voice recording of them, you got to do that. We've got to save our history. And Deb, we'll always remember what happened at Pearl Harbor, but
will we remember Aunt Pearl? See y'all next week.
Bye-bye, folks.
Enjoyed it? Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old? Just me. Did all my friends get old? Just me. Are they all gonna have to be told? Or just me?
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
You need money overnight? Check into